Okay, in this video we'll have a look at so-called Supersaw. So what's Supersaw then? So-called Supersaw is a DSP method of mathematically simulating the effect of having lots of oscillators stacked together. So it's really a product of the digital synth age. In previous times you had to get a whole bunch of oscillators and put them together, and most synthesizers didn't have more than 4 at the most oscillators, unless it was a modular synth. So it wasn't really much of a possibility. But with DSP chips and the clever programmers, rather than having a whole bunch of digital oscillators combined together, they produced algorithms which created the same result as having lots of saw waves mixed together. I think it first appeared in the Roland JP8000 in the early 90s. One of the oscillator options on my old one was this thing called Supersaw, which had a detune function and allowed one note to sound like 7 saw waves mixed together, and you could detune the various amounts of each saw wave in that collection. As I said, it was a mathematical simulation of mixing several saw waves together, but it sounds fantastic. And that particular sound became known as the Supersaw, and it's become a part of the sound of melodic trance records and big synth sounds generally. We'll have a quick look at how each of these soft synths implements their version of a Supersaw wave. Okay, let's have a look at how Zebra implements its version of Supersaw. So I have a basic wave here, saw wave. And all you do is you take this oscillator here and you change it here from a single wave to a dual and hit detune. If it's that easy, I hear you say, why did you show us to do it the more difficult way before? Well, there's a reason for that. One is it's always good to know how to do things properly, so if a synth doesn't have a Supersaw method, then you can still find out how to do detune. And secondly, you can combine the two approaches in a lot of soft synths, and it'll give you even fatter sounds. So it's good to know both ways. So there we are. And it also has a width control in Zebra, which will pan each of the oscillators to left and right. If you go full width, it'll go hard left, hard right. And that's about 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. And that's mono. So you get fat sounds. You can also hit this button here, which goes to quad as well, so you get 2 per side, panned out across the stereo spectrum. So you can get very good pad sounds, Supersaw sounds. And as wide as you like. If you want to go completely over the top, you can go to 11, which I think is a tip of the hat to Nigel Tufnell from Spinal Tap, who, if you've ever seen the documentary, his Marshall amp used to go to 11, not just 10, so it could get louder than other guitar players. But there you go. So you get truly huge. So that's how it's done in Zebra. You could, of course, put another oscillator in, change it to quad or whatever, and detune the other way. Let me just go up an octave. And widen that. With a bit of delay. Get rid of the bottom end. and so forth. Let's have a look at Vanguard. Okay, here's Vanguard with a single saw wave. Okay, with Vanguard, it's just this control here, the so-called fat control. What that does is it's similar to Zebra. It pans one oscillator right, one oscillator left, hard left all the time, and this is the amount of the detuning between them. It's not quite as anywhere near as good as the Zebra one, but it can be tweaked into shape. It's still really useful control, especially for stereoizing your sounds. I'll show you how to make it sound like a huge supersaw in a sec. There's also this control here, which is the amount of voices. If you see here, if I click on this, fat control voices 2, I can go voices 3, 4, 5, 6, and that will add, on 4 it'll add 2 to the right, 2 to the left, on 6 3 to the left, 3 to the right, etc. And on 5 and 3 in the odd numbers, it appears to add 1 in the middle and 1 either side. Yeah, I actually don't think there's a whole lot of value in that, because it starts to kill your CPU and it doesn't actually sound that much fatter. It does get louder though. Okay, so back to combining the two approaches of detuning and using the Supersaw kind of facility in a soft synth. Let's take 2 oscillators, 2 sawtooths, sawteeth, and turn the fat control off. Now, if we go to detune, so now we have a detune between these 2 sawteeth. And then if we add this on top, that will be adding 2 oscillators to each side. And that will detune them against each other. Again, if we could add another one and detune that one, making sure this is 0 and detune it the other way. See if I've got a more appropriate sequence for this kind of sound. Put some delay on. etc. Okay, let's have a look at Elvina now. So we have straight saw wave. The filter open should be. This is how it's done in Elvina. There's this control here called spread. And it adds and detunes oscillators as you turn it up. So it's like a detune control, but it adds oscillators too. You may be able to hear that it's got the free run turned off. So you get that consistent attack thing. So we need to turn that on. So there we have the Supersaw version. That's just on one oscillator. We could fatten it further, although it's pretty good as it is. Let's have a listen on the sequence. Let's add another oscillator and do the detune thing on that one too. Let's turn the first one off. Let's put them together. Sounds pretty fat. Of course, we could go over the top and put a third one in. Let's hear that with the sequence. Sounds pretty good. You may notice that in Elvina it's not as stereofied as the other ones. We can rectify that. It's a bit of juggling, but it can be done because it has two filters. Actually, the filter is not stereo. You've got two mono filters. So if you turn the other one on and send oscillator 1 to filter 1 and oscillator 2 to filter 2, and then put this filter balance thing in the middle, and then pan one left and one right. We have to have the cutoffs and the filters set to the same. Have to assign a MIDI control to control both of these at the same time. But there you have it, that's now in stereo. Huge, great, wide stereo thing. Let's make sure that oscillator 3 is going to filter 1 and oscillator 4 is going to filter 2. There you go. So, humongous sound if you should require that kind of thing. Like a great low pad, actually. There you go, Supersaw.